we normalising previously outlawed practices common to Muslim culture, regardless of the damage and harm it does to women and children in the UK? Hello everybody and welcome back. Today I want to talk about something that's been weighing heavily on my mind as a doctor, as a woman, as a mother. These things are making me deeply concerned about the direction our society is heading in the UK, and of course it makes me question why. We're seeing a disturbing trend where cultural practices that we've long condemned as harmful, barbaric even, especially to women and children, are starting to be normalised or at least softened in public discourse in the UK, and we know where that drip goes. And before you know it, it will be fine to abort your baby to term for being a girl. It will be fine if a family in your child's class at school want to take their 4-year-old to Somalia for the summer, to mutilate her vagina, and then when she's ready to marry, it won't matter that she'll risk having a terribly disabled child that suffers in agony because it's culturally normal for her to marry her first cousin, often forced or arranged. It's like we're bending over backwards to accommodate ideas that fly in the face of medical evidence, human rights, and basic ethics. And honestly, it's worrying and frankly, it's disgusting. I really am going to give you hard and fast examples today of how the narrative around these horrific things is being pushed for acceptance in the name of cultural sensitivity. It's like Groundhog Day. We learn nothing from the past, from grooming gangs, from Sarah Sharif, from West Midlands Police. Let me take you through it by breaking down 3 recent examples. Firstly, there is a push in Scotland to effectively allow sex-selective abortions, a shocking paper in a respected medical journal called to destigmatise female genital mutilation, and the NHS's bizarre flirtation with endorsing first cousin marriages. Stick with me, because this isn't just abstract policy, it's about real harm to vulnerable people. So let's start with Scotland and abortion. Right now, as of January 2026, abortion in Scotland is legal up to 24 weeks as it is in the rest of the UK. It's still possible to have an abortion to term for severe physical disability of the baby or a physical or mental health threat to the mother, again under the agreement of 2 doctors. But late last year, in November 2025, the Scottish Government's expert group on abortion law released a report that is nothing short of radical. They recommend scrapping the 24-week limit for social grounds, allowing abortions right up to birth for pretty much any reason, with no need for doctor's approval in the early stages. Imagine a woman 8 months pregnant has anything going on in life that would make it less than ideal to add a baby into that life, and she could kill the baby to term. But there's more. Yeah, I know, more, as if that wasn't enough. The Scottish report explicitly doesn't prohibit sex-selective abortions, so women would be able to choose to end the life of their child to term for being the wrong sex, and that wrong sex is usually female. And guess which cultures don't value female babies and would opt for a boy pregnancy over a girl one every time? Yep, mainly Asian ones. It was for this reason that in some NHS trusts in the UK with predominantly Asian populations, they stopped allowing women to know the sex of their unborn child at scan. We've seen this play out in other parts of the world, like parts of Asia, China for example, where cultural preferences for sons led to skewed gender ratios and all sorts of social problems, men sharing wives for example. In the UK, we've decried sex-selective abortions as discriminatory and abhorrent for years. It's even illegal under current interpretations of the law. But this new proposal opens that door wide again. Pro-life groups and women's rights advocates have rightly pushed back, calling it a step towards the most extreme abortion regimen in the world. As a doctor, I have to ask, how does this protect women? It risks entrenching gender bias, pressuring families, often from certain cultural backgrounds, to abort female fetuses, and for children, well, it's the ultimate harm before they even get a chance at life for being the wrong sex. This isn't progress, it's regression disguised as choice. And if that hasn't convinced you of the trend I'm seeing, let's move on to something even more shocking. Female genital mutilation, or FGM. For decades, the UK has led the charge against FGM, making it illegal since 1985 with mandatory reporting and awareness campaigns. This was to protect girls from the barbaric practice. FGM involves cutting or altering female genitalia for non-medical reasons, often leading to severe pain, infections, childbirth complications, and lifelong trauma. It has been rightly called a form of child abuse and gender-based violence. But just last month, December the 14th, 2025, the Journal of Medical Ethics, published by the British Medical Journal Group, ran a paper titled Harms of the Current Global Anti-FGM Campaign. The authors argue that the global crackdown on FGM is actually harmful, stigmatising migrant communities and based on Western sensitisation. In other words, just because we think it's barbaric, we are judging it through our Western glasses, and we need to rethink. They don't think it's even traumatic. They think we have used those words, but not the women who have their clitoris sliced off and their vaginas stitched up. Well, I've treated these women, and trust me, the trauma is real and lifelong. The authors even drawn parallels between FGM and cosmetic labiaplasty in the West, suggesting we should destigmatise FGM and view the two things as the same but different. Can you believe it? Laws banning FGM are called stigmatising towards those who practice it. This has sparked outrage from politicians, women's groups, and even fellow academics who point out that equating voluntary adult cosmetic surgery with the forced cutting of young girls' vaginas is absurd and dangerous. As someone who's worked in healthcare, I've seen the aftermath of FGM. Women suffering in silence during pregnancies, infections that never heal. This paper isn't just tone deaf, it's a step towards normalising child harm under the guise of cultural sensitivity. We can't let destigmatisation become code for turning a blind eye to abuse. Girls in the UK deserve protection, not academic excuses. It disgusts me. We used to send toddlers up chimneys. We don't do that anymore because we realised it was harmful. Nobody now says, look, you're just viewing that from the view of someone who doesn't need a chimney sweep. It's really fine. Finally, this is a subject I've spoken about lots. Back in the news, this time to try and rehabilitate the practice. First cousin marriage, which is disgusting for its potential to produce severely disabled children who live short and long lives of misery. Back in September 25, NHS England published a blog post highlighting the benefits of marrying your first cousin, like stronger family support networks and economic advantages. They acknowledge the risks. First cousins share 12.5% of their DNA, doubling the chance of recessive genetic disorders in children. But they downplayed it, saying that only around 15% of these children have serious defects. The post was pulled quickly after a massive backlash, with Health Secretary Wes Streeting calling for an apology. But today we discover that official midwifery guidance used for teaching new midwives, branding concerns about the risks of congenital diseases or birth defects exaggerated and unwarranted because 85% of cousin couples do not have effective children. The national average rate for children born without congenital disease is 98%. The teaching added that staff should not stigmatise predominantly South Asian or Muslim patients who have a baby with their cousin because the practice is perfectly normal in their culture. Who cares? This is our culture. We minimise harm to children in our culture, or we used to. A BBC investigation from February 25 revealed that children of first cousin parents have higher rates of birth defects, infant mortality, and conditions like heart problems or metabolic disorders. This cultural practice burdens the NHS with extra costs for treatment and care of these children. First cousin marriage doubles the chance of a birth defect. I would recommend everyone watch First Cousin Marriage on Netflix. And if you want more details on the figures, see my vlog on it. Politicians like those in Reform UK have called for a ban, arguing that it's not just a personal choice when it affects children and taxpayers. From my perspective as a doctor, this is about preventing avoidable suffering. Women in arranged cousin marriages often face coercion, and the children pay the price for disability. Why is the NHS even entertaining this? It smacks of cultural relativism over evidence-based medicine. So what ties these together is this creeping normalisation of practices we have previously decried as abhorrent. In the name of multiculturalism or inclusivity, we're seeing institutions soften their stance on things that harm women and children. Sex-selective abortion devalues girls before birth. FGM inflicts irreversible damage on young bodies. Cousin marriages risk generation of health issues. These aren't victimless traditions. They're rooted in patriarchy, control and inequality. And in the UK, where we have fought hard for women's rights and child protection, this is betrayal of our culture. It also feels like a slippery slope where we accept that cultures from other lands must be expected in ours. What's next? Stoning women to death in the market square? Enforced hijab wearing? Marrying 9-year-olds off to older men? Where does it stop? We are importing problems and then pretending they're okay to avoid offending people. Look, I'm not saying we shouldn't respect diverse cultures, but respect cannot come at the expense of basic human rights. We have the evidence. Now we need the backbone. If this resonates with you, please like this, share it, comment below. What do you think about these trends? Should we push back harder? Let's keep our conversation going. And thank you for watching. Please share this far and wide. We have to say no to these practices. We have to stand up for what is right in our culture. And we've made those things right over years of learning. Let's not go backwards. We are not brain dead. We can see what's happening. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.